Looking for a Rain God is a short story written by Bessie Head, set in a rural African village where a prolonged drought devastates the lives of the villagers. The story focuses on a poor family that depends on farming for survival, but the lack of rain threatens their very existence. Faced with this desperation, they turn to ancient traditions and superstitions in the hope of finding a solution. The family, driven by hopelessness, attempts a ritualistic sacrifice, hoping to appease the gods and bring rain. This tragic tale highlights the tension between tradition and modernity, and the extreme measures people are forced to take when pushed to the brink of survival. Bessie Head effectively explores the impact of poverty, superstition, and the harsh realities of rural life in Africa, illustrating how desperation can lead to devastating consequences. The story begins in a small, rural village in Botswana, where the community has been suffering from a prolonged drought. The villagers rely heavily on agriculture, but without rain, their crops have failed, leading to widespread hunger and desperation. The central characters in the story are members of the Mokaba family, which consists of elders, adults, and young children. The family, like many others in the village, is entirely dependent on the success of their crops for survival. As the drought continues, the family grows increasingly desperate. They had been hoping for rain, but as time passes with no signs of it, their situation becomes dire. The adults in the family, particularly the patriarch, Kagagoti, and his brother Tiro, start to lose hope. With no other options left, they recall an ancient ritual passed down through generations, a ritual that involves the sacrifice of children to appease the rain gods. In their desperation, the men believe that this may be the only way to save the family and the village from starvation. The family decides to perform the ritual, and tragically, 2 young children in the family are chosen as the sacrifices. In a heart-wrenching moment, killing the children in the belief that their sacrifice will bring rain. However, the rain does not come, and the family's desperate act is in vain. As the days pass and the drought continues, the truth about the children's deaths becomes known to the village. The police are called in, and the family members responsible for the sacrifice are arrested. The entire village is shocked and horrified by the events that have unfolded, and the tragic consequences of the family's actions become a symbol of the destructive power of desperation and superstition. Bessie Head masterfully portrays the struggle between survival, belief, and morality. The Mokaba family's decision to turn to an ancient, violent ritual reflects their deep sense of hopelessness in the face of an uncontrollable natural disaster. The story also raises questions about the cost of clinging to outdated traditions in the face of modern challenges, and the price of desperation in the lives of vulnerable people. Looking for a Rain God tells the story of a rural African family that becomes desperate after a long drought devastates their crops. The Mokaba family, facing the possibility of starvation, turns to an ancient ritual that involves the sacrifice of children to appease the rain gods. They believe that this extreme measure will bring rain and save their lives, but the ritual proves futile, and the children's sacrifice is in vain. The truth of the family's actions is eventually discovered, leading to the arrest of the responsible family members. Bessie Head's story explores the devastating effects of superstition, desperation, and tradition in a community struggling to survive. It highlights the lengths people will go to when faced with insurmountable challenges and raises questions about the moral implications of clinging to harmful beliefs. The story, Looking for a Rain God, delves deep into human psychology, especially how individuals react when pushed to their limits by uncontrollable circumstances. The prolonged drought acts as a catalyst for the Mokaba family's descent into despair and their eventual decision to resort to an ancient ritual. The story illustrates how extreme situations, like starvation, can lead people to act irrationally, driven by the need to survive. The ritualistic sacrifice of children is a tragic example of how ancient superstitions and traditions can have deadly consequences in modern times. Bessie Head uses this story to explore the tension between tradition and modernity. In a world where science and reason are increasingly dominant, the characters in the story cling to outdated beliefs, hoping for a miraculous solution to their problems. The story also highlights the fragility of human morality when faced with life-threatening situations. The Mogaba family's decision to sacrifice their children, though horrifying, is portrayed as an act of desperation rather than malice. The narrative serves as a reminder that in moments of extreme crisis, even the most sacred moral boundaries can be crossed. Looking for a rain god raises several critical ideas about tradition, superstition, and the human condition. One of the central themes is the destructive power of desperation. The Mogaba family's willingness to sacrifice their own children demonstrates how dire circumstances can force individuals to take extreme, irrational actions. This theme speaks to the broader issue of how poverty and natural disasters can strip people of their ability to think rationally, leading to decisions that are morally questionable or outright harmful. Another critical idea in the story is the clash between tradition and modernity. The family's decision to turn to an ancient ritual in the hopes of bringing rain highlights the persistence of traditional beliefs in a world where such practices are often considered obsolete. Bessie Head seems to be questioning whether certain traditions, especially those involving violence or harm, should be abandoned in favor of more progressive, rational approaches to problem solving. The story suggests that clinging to harmful traditions can have devastating consequences, as seen in the unnecessary deaths of the two children. The theme of superstition is also central to the story. The family's belief in the rain gods and their willingness to perform a human sacrifice speaks to the powerful hold that superstitious beliefs can have over people, even when there is no rational basis for them. This raises questions about the role of belief systems in human societies and how they can sometimes do more harm than good, especially when they conflict with ethical values or common sense. Finally, the story critiques societal expectations and the pressures placed on individuals in rural, poverty-stricken communities. The Mogaba family feels immense pressure to do something, anything, to bring rain, even if it means resorting to violence. This pressure to act, even irrationally, is a reflection of the desperation caused by poverty and environmental crisis. The story makes a powerful impact by showing how superstition and desperation can lead people to make tragic choices. Looking for a rain god teaches the importance of approaching challenges with rationality rather than resorting to harmful traditions or extreme measures. It serves as a reminder that difficult circumstances can push individuals into making morally dubious decisions, and we must be cautious of the destructive potential of outdated beliefs. The story left me reflecting on the necessity of critical thinking and ethical decision-making, even in the face of overwhelming hardship. Looking for a rain god is a poignant tale of desperation, superstition, and tragedy. Through the story of the Mogaba family, Bessie Head explores the devastating effects of poverty and the dangers of clinging to harmful traditions in times of crisis. The story underscores the importance of rational thinking and the need to abandon outdated practices that can cause harm. Ultimately, the story serves as a powerful reminder of the moral and psychological toll that extreme circumstances can take on individuals, leading them to actions that they would never consider under normal conditions.